Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to Midday Live, special holiday edition of the Bulletin. It's coming to you live from our studio here at Asiedu-Dartey. My name is Asiedu-Dartey. Coming up within the next 1 hour. Kenya's Supreme Court declares the August 8 election result null and void, orders new presidential election in 60 days. Teacher unions unhappy with the hold-up of August salaries of its members by the Controller and Accountant General. And Muslims across the world mark the Eid al-Adha festivities today. We have details of that story coming up shortly. So we have details of all these stories and more, including business, sport, entertainment, all coming up for you. Now let's settle down for the details of our stories now. And we are starting with developments here on the labor front in Ghana. And the Controller and Accountant General's Department has suspended the August salaries of some 7,000 workers on government's mechanized payroll. The objective is intended to clean the payroll data and improve the efficiency of government's payroll management.
The suspension is in line with Regulation 297 of the Financial Administration Regulation 2004 LI 1802. Employees who had their salaries suspended failed to do the monthly validation of their salaries, which is a mandatory requirement for payment of salaries of employees on government payroll. Employees whose salaries have been suspended include validators who failed to validate their payrolls through the electronic salary payment voucher ESPV system in August, as well as employees whose salaries were not validated. Others include employees who were not verified during the ESVP validation process in August, as well as those with zero or irregular bank account details, and others with wrong or without numbers, no bank details, and same account numbers for different employees. Those whose salaries were suspended due to non-validation of salaries will be paid at the end of September 2017 on the condition that their heads of department validate them on the ESPV platform for September 2017. Employees declared unknown but not missing at their various places of work are required to submit reactivation letters signed by the heads of department to the Controller and Accountant General's Department Payroll Processing Division. Employees with zero or irregular bank account details and others with wrong or without numbers and employees sharing the same account numbers have been asked to submit their required information to the Payroll Processing Directorate of the Controller and Accountant General's Department for processing. Employees yet to go through the biometric registration exercise are expected to contact the Biometric Registration Center at the Ministry of Finance with the necessary documents for registration.
Meanwhile, the Director of Payroll at the Controller and Accountant General's Department, Elizabeth Osei, has justified the suspension of the 7,000 salaries of workers. She spoke in an exclusive interview with TV3's Daniel Opoku.
The 7,000 names that you have suspended, where is the largest group coming from?
The largest numbers are coming from Ghana Education Service.
Meaning what?
Meaning that a lot of employees in the Ghana Education Service who were not validated have not been paid for the month of August.
But prior to that, were you able to engage the leader of the Ghana Education Service before their names were suspended? Because most of the concerns that they raise, that most of them are in the deprived areas where getting access to network is a problem for them to embark on this validation or registration exercise.
Yes, as you rightly said, we engaged chief directors and heads of MDAs in all the civil service and in fact the public sector whose salaries are paid on the Controller and Accountant General's Department have been sensitized already on this, how do I call it, the directive. We've also spoken to the various public sector unions to, as it were, bring them, create the awareness that their employees stand not to be paid. In fact, this directive was going to be implemented in July, but because we engaged with the various unions and managements of the various institutions. They asked that we give them a little more time so that they could bring this to the notice of all their validators or their heads of departments. And we agreed to that. So everybody agreed that we would roll this particular directive out in August 2017. And we've done just that.
Wouldn't have controller found a more appropriate way in terms of giving them punishment rather than suspending their salaries?
See, it's not only about punishing. It's about the credibility of the payroll we are running at the Controller and Accountant General's department. It's a centralized system. And this is an intervention to make sure that we pay only deserving employees. So the ESPV system that has been ruled out is meant to ensure that every head of department is aware of who Controller and Accountant General is paying on their behalf. So that is why we are doing this. It's not to punish anybody, but it's to ensure that we ensure that everybody who is paid ought to be paid. And so if they are not validated, it's difficult for the Controller and Accountant General to establish if they exist and whether their salaries are legitimate. So it's not about punishing, but it's about ensuring that there is no leakage in the government purse. We are protecting the government purse.
Now, linking that to gift mix, are we saying controller is getting a headway?
In fact, gift mix is making a lot of headway, not only in the payment of salaries, but also the financial management generally, as in disbursements at the MDA level. So it's not only about the Controller and Accountant General's salary payments, but generally about disbursements out of the GOG or out of the consolidated fund. It's becoming more and more credible.
Are you reaching a final stage in terms of gift mix, rolling out the gift mix?
Not final. Gift mix is still midway, I must say, but it's been rolled out to most MDAs. I'm not the best authority to speak on this. But then GiveMix has been rolled out to most MDAs, and even to the extent that we've started deploying to MMDAs in the districts.
All right, let's stay on this particular subject matter a while longer. We've been joined by Ahinakwa Kwashi. He is the head of salaries and compensation with the Ghana National Association of Teachers. Good afternoon, sir. Thank you for joining us. Hello, Mr. Kwashi.
Hello.
Good afternoon. And if you can hear me, my question to you would be, how are you and your colleagues taking this revelation from the controller that your August salaries are going to be delayed, in fact, suspended?
Yeah, it's very unfortunate that this thing has happened. I think around 11th of July, we had a meeting with controller, and then we discussed a whole lot of issues. They decided to implement this directive or whatever. And for us, our concern had been that people have worked. So if for one reason or the other, somebody will have to validate that person who has worked the whole month, and the person fails to do that, we don't see why they should deny the person who has worked a salary. And it's very, very unfortunate. They themselves will have to design a proper method of doing that kind of validation. Because they are using network. And network, you know, in Ghana, the way the networks operate, the various these telecoms, the way they operate, they are not reliable at all, and they give the people only 40 hours.
What are your Mr. Kwashi, if you can allow me, the reasons that have been outlined by the controller seem to be justifiable in the sense that they have given enough time for all the teacher unions or all teachers in the country who are paid by the state to go through the process. There seem to have still been some delays. Based on that, they have taken this decision. You disagree with her on that?
Yes, I disagree.
On what grounds?
The point I am making is that, for example, the individual teacher whose salary has been brought because somebody somewhere will have to validate him, and the person didn't do that. What has that validation got to do with the person who has worked so that he will not get a salary? It is a useless directive. They should find a proper way of doing that kind of thing. And
right.
I'm saying that they give all of them, they open the thing for them for 48 hours. And then everybody go onto the system to do the validation. The system itself will even get jammed.
The next line of action we would want to know from you would be...
What I'm saying is that controllers should design a new method, or they should find a way of paying the people within the shortest possible time.
Or else what? I'm
saying that they should find a means of paying the people within the shortest.
How about those who are falling foul of the expectation, the what she outlined, the processes they were to follow? Why can't they also then go ahead to go through the process and ensure that everything works so we have a win-win situation?
In Ghana, in Ghana here we have school in almost every hamlet. There are some places we don't even have connectivity. And people have to travel from one location to the other before they can get access to the network to enable them to do the validation. This is the kind of problems that they are giving the people.
So
and the person didn't do that. As a result of his negligence, then I have worked, I should lose my salary.
Okay. So
I am saying that controllers should pay them within the next few days. If by next week and the people have not been paid, we will get to a time that we will know what to do. We will we will ask all our teachers not to go to school once schools reopen.
Okay. Thank you very much. Ahena Kwakwashi, he is the head of salaries and compensation with the Ghana National Association of Teachers, NAT. And I would keep an eye on that particular story and let you know the latest with regard to it and keep you posted as well. Away from that, the petty squabble between the New Patriotic Party and the National Democratic Congress manifested itself today at the NPP's Delegates Congress. I beg your pardon, that actually happened over the weekend. Now, Deputy General Secretary of the NDC, Koko Asiedu-Dartey, led the charge to extend felicitations to the governing party, but was not done without the usual squabbles and heckling. Although friendly, some may put it, there were others who thought that it should have been a smooth sail for the NDC when they were at that particular conference.
The rivalry that has greeted the two major political parties over the years is undisputed. So when the NDC turned up at the New Patriotic Party's delegate conference to extend their felicitation, it was not expected they would have a warm welcome.
And the people say,
Led by Koko Asiedu-Dartey and Alote Jacob, the representatives could least be perturbed by the dominance of the NPP crowd.
The NDC handed over a peaceful Ghana and a fast developing nation. We handed over to you. All we are saying is that give us more peace and give us more development.
They charged the president to address the challenges confronting the nation.
Give us the jobs, give us the roads, give us the free education. Pay the nursing training allowances, pay the teacher training allowances, pay the DKM customers, pay the God is Love customers, pay the contractors, and stop the army worms from entering Kwame Nkrumah's Ghana.
Despite the agitations which greeted the appointment of the PNC 2016 flag bearer, Dr. Edward Mahama, as the ambassador at large, the PNC representatives made it clear that they wanted more appointments.
This is coming from no meaner personality than the ambassador at large. His Excellency, we are grateful for such a recognition. And we are appealing to you that it shouldn't end there. We have a lot of people in our midst.
The CPP, the PPP and the NDP were also present to support the NPP.
Yes. And we are following that particular story. We've been joined in studio by Koko Asiedu. He is the Deputy General Secretary of the National Democratic Congress. And from last Saturday's conference and other developments within the country, the government and party issues we're going to be talking about. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon, Martin.
Yes, it's been a while since we saw you. Let's start from home, as they say. We know that there have been recent developments within the rank and file of the NDC, for which the Council of Elders have called on supporters not to, as they put it, wash the party's dirty linens in public. What has necessitated this call, you'd say?
Well, thanks, Martin, and good afternoon to viewers. And first of all, I think it's just proper to extend warm felicitations and a happy Eid to Muslim brethren. Especially our heart goes out to the ones that are still stranded in Saudi Arabia. We hope that the government will bring them back home quickly so they can join their brethren to celebrate the Eid. Yes, of course, as a political party, we lost an election, frankly, in a very ignominious manner. I mean, a very ignominious defeat, the first in our political history, badly bruised. You will expect that there will be a lot of hitting of heads, because people want to wear their hats on their sleeves and vent out their anger. It was proper in the early days, but I believe that going on, and especially with the inauguration of the new Council of Elders, that's the highest advisory body of the party, right, chaired by no less a person than the founder himself, and the vice is Alhaji Muhammad Idris. So once that council is in state and they are beginning to shape and map out the way forward, I believe that it's only proper that we begin to hem in a bit of the open anger and see the extent to which we can bottle up and sort things within. So it's and then from the day the call was made up until now, you believe people are I think so. I think that since the call came out about 3 weeks ago, the inks that we used to see in the pens of some people have run out. Drying out. They are drying out. We are not getting the heavy artillery attacks again. So okay, let's shift it onto the activities of the NDC's representatives in Parliament. Consistently, they have held press conferences to give their opinion or what they thought of developments within the country, especially keeping an eye on government's activities. There's been a recent major development, which is the SNIT one, where two key known NDC members were board members. We're talking about Kwame Pepra and Joshua Alabi. They were part of the board of SNIT. Now, there seemed to be a very loud silence on the part of the NDC as a party and the NDC in Parliament over this. Where is the usual press conference that don't forget that Parliament jumped immediately after this? Don't forget that Parliament is on recess. But they've held press conferences as minority in Parliament when session was... No, Parliament was not in session. I don't think that you can give me very solid incidences where they've been outside Parliament on recess and then grouped for a press conference. No. So let's give them that. But I've also heard individual MPs speak to the fact that it's still unfolding. I have granted interviews and I know the position of the party. The matter is still unfolding. What you can know for sure, Martin, and I say that unequivocally, is that should the investigations run through and somebody is found culpable, the NDC as a political party shall not go behind massing and wanting to defend the indefensible. That will not happen. Individuals who have friends and family who think that you want to support, fine. But the NDC as a political party shall not go in open defense of the indefensible. Anybody who has done wrong, let him deal with his wrongdoing. The party will not go in open defense. No. I mean, this business where people, look, the NDC as a political party hasn't got hands. It hasn't got fingers. It hasn't got legs. It hasn't got mouth. So the political party called NDC, cannot, as it were, rob the state. If an individual comes in NDC clothing and goes to rob the state, advisedly, let that person deal with his own robbery. Okay. The party will not go in support of any wrongdoing. No. That is, if investigations end and it is found out. We are still talking hypothetically. Okay. We are not saying anybody has done wrong yet. But should it come out that anybody has done wrong and has, as it were, dissipated? And look, I was just watching a clip of a young girl in Gambaga who has to leave Northern Region, come to Kumasi for Kaya year job to be able to find something to go back and go and pay her school fees. People are dying out of lack of health care, lack of water. So if we have the opportunity to serve, why should we steal? And if you deal with your own theft cases, the party will not come and defend you at all.
Let's stay on the issue of the fight against corruption. The current president, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, His Excellency, has reiterated his commitment to fighting corruption, and recently, over the weekend as well, mentioned that people within his administration, if any allegation is leveled, he would call for an investigation into it. And 2 deputy chiefs of staff have been invited by the state security agencies for investigation. Would you applaud the president for at least this?
Why
this
not?
move?
Why not? Good is good, bad is bad. Everybody knows my position on Nana Akufo-Addo's governance. I mean, I'll criticize him openly if I have to, but good is good. That's the only way to fight corruption. I worked with President Mills, and President Mills kept saying, Kwaku, we say MPP is corrupt. It's not because MPP is corrupt. Individuals there will be corrupt if the system allows them to be corrupt. So if Nana Akufo-Addo, at the onset, is able to allow the investigative bodies to invite his appointees and open up the space for investigation, solid. I heard President Kufuor says, don't wash your dirty linen in public. It is true. I believe in that principle of not washing your dirty linen in public, but you don't protect the thieves. Because it was under President Kufuor's watch that we had an office of accountability at the presidency. Right. And he himself told us that that office was just to call erring officials and tell them to pipe down on the extent to which they are erring. No. It was under his watch that the presidency became a pivot around kickbacks was revolving. The then chairman of the MPP said it.
So what you have said can also somewhat be leveled against the NDC when you're in power, because there were a few times where key appointees had corruption allegations leveled against them. They were either asked to step down or they leave, and then we are told they just get an office or a seat at the seat of government. Should I give an example?
Go ahead.
At least that of the sports minister then.
Where was the evidence of corruption?
But at least there was a...
There was but in terms of fighting corruption, why? We had cases of the Jida and Asada and being investigated. So it's nothing new.
Do you have trust in the state institutions to fight corruption? Because consistently we start and we never see the end of it.
Good question. That is why this whole debate even about special prosecutor. If you make Jesus Christ or N.G. Gabriel the special prosecutor, and we still don't have the institutions that are ready. Yes, we believe in the state institutions. No two ways about that. But the institutions are also manned by human beings. Right. If you still have a justice system that has he-goats lurking in the background, and it's the he-goats that can determine court cases, if Jesus Christ is a special prosecutor, you will still have bad judges. So you still have that's why the institutions are there. It's the human beings that make the institutions bad. Okay. That is why I said, as a political party, NDC, we are insisting that if you come in there and you want to make the NDC look bad, we'll leave you on your own. Okay. Fight your own battles.
Final issue would have to do with Mr. Kwetu, the Deputy Agric Minister. He made some statements many have tagged ethnocentric, for which reason he has resigned. Some have applauded him for taking that honorable decision. Others are still he still needs to be giving further punishment.
We don't believe in the NDC that it's an honorable decision. He let his tongue loose. He didn't guard his emotions. He spoke the way he shouldn't have spoken. And he has paid the price for it by stepping aside. We're not going to put him in a palanquin.
Hardly do we have political figures resigning when allegations like this or when issues like this come up. It
doesn't mean that when somebody does it, we should put him in a palanquin and carry him around. And no. Otherwise, we'll be glorifying and deifying wrongdoing.
Okay.
Yes, it is proper that when you do wrong, you step aside. Fine, it brings closer to the matter. But let's not over-deify it and say that, so go and steal. After you have stolen and you serve your jail sentence and you become the best preacher man in town, we should applaud you for being a former armed robber.
The minority are even saying that he should even step down also as a member of parliament.
That's purely parliamentary procedure. I'm not in there with them. I don't know the standing orders in detail, and I don't want to skate on anything nice.
Okay. Thank you very much for making time to speak with us. We are also told that you have a founder or founders, the NDC, as it stands.
Oh, why do you want to go into that? Jesus Christ never wrote a line in the Bible, but the Bible talks about Jesus Christ. President Rawlings is the founder of the NDC. We have founding fathers, yes, but we revere him. We give him that special place as a founder. It's ceremonial. It happens.
Great. The NDC is still in a comfortable lead.
Okay. Certainly we are.
Okay. Thank you very much. Kwaku Anyidoho is the Deputy General Secretary of the National Democratic Congress, and we'll be getting him in studio as the opposition insist that they will keep a keen eye on government to ensure they give the best to the citizenry. This is Midday Live on TV3. Stay with us. We'll be back more. Thank you very much for staying with TV3. This is Midday Live. Let's go to the Ashanti region now. And the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, has joined Muslims in the Ashanti region to mark the Eid al-Adha festivities. Now, he urged all Muslims to shun vengeance and embrace peace, and also learn to coexist with other religious groups.
My dear brothers and sisters, we must continue to submit our ways to Allah and to shun vengeance, violence, indiscipline, and other negative attitudes that affect progress and development to enable us to enjoy Allah's blessings. Let us forever resolve to discard such immoral acts and trust Allah, who only knows what is good for us. Occasions like this present Muslims and indeed all Ghanaians with an opportunity to reflect and rededicate ourselves to the ways of our Maker and the cause of nation building. It is therefore my cherished expectation that we shall all remain focused, particularly in the years ahead, by strengthening the unity of purpose that exists between religious organizations and the government.
Well, so I'm sure many of you woke up today to that big news that broke on the African continent having to do with the decision in Kenya. So the Kenyan Supreme Court has overturned results of last month's presidential elections and ordered a rerun in 60 days. In the ruling, the Chief Justice said the Independent Elections and Boundaries Commission did not go according to its own rules, as there were irregularities and illegalities, thereby harming the integrity of the election. In a petition to the court, the opposition candidate Raila Odinga claimed that the electronic voting results were hacked and manipulated in favor of Mr. Kenyatta, who won a second term with 54% of the total votes cast. Kenya's Electoral Commission said there was a hacking attempt, but it failed. International election observers have said they saw no interference with the voting process. Human rights groups have also said police killed at least 24 people in an unrest that broke out following the elections on the 8th of August. And we just want to bring you a number of key pointers following the elections. But before that, let's listen to let's go to Kenya. Some key voices that we managed to pick up for you, including that of the